Well, good morning, Tom. How are you?
Hey, Paul, I'm doing well. I had a little jet ski accident 2 weeks ago, and I'm feeling a lot better. My
Oh,
ankle is
that's right. That's right.
much better, much better.
Good. And is fall arriving there in South Carolina?
We're still 2 months away
Oh man, you're
from
lucky.
fall.
Fall has hit us pretty hard here in the Northwest. It is,
Yeah, everything good on your end?
it is good. Yeah, we've had a good week. Just did a client webinar. So we do, oh, you participated in it, didn't you? Our client pro shop on setup reduction. I'm curious, what was some of your thoughts about that webinar?
Uh, I feel with ProShop right now, I'm kind of drinking through a fire hydrant, and everything that I can do to expose myself on best practices, and to get a glimpse of what is going to happen in the future is extremely beneficial. I really like the comment at the end. I had a 1 o'clock hard stop, but I really liked at the end how one of the users had been there for a good long time, I think, and said that he didn't think he was going to get much out of it, but was really very happy that he did.
Oh yes, yes, yeah, yeah. That was Dave. Um, yeah, another guy who bought a machine shop, kind of not dissimilar from you, but his already had a dozen employees at the time he bought it. But yeah, no, that one was really less about pro shop, honestly, and more just about best practices in a machine shop for reducing setup times, but how pro shop can help support those best practices. So we're actually going to be doing one for customer for prospects and companies that aren't customers in about 2 weeks on the 20th. So all right,
Okay.
let's and you've had a couple sessions with Michael since we last talked.
I have. I think most people could probably do what we did in one session, but we don't live in the low country. We live in the slow country. So sometimes we're not as fast on picking up things as other people.
I'm sure you're doing great. Well, I'd love to have you share your screen and let's take a look at what you've been doing.
Okay. All right. So we're here. We've been working through the work order. Really is the way that Michael has organized, or ProShop has organized our training, and it's set up very much like a job going through the shop. And so not only is it helpful to keep organized as to exactly where we are in the training, but it also has lent me some familiarity with, okay, these are the kinds of steps that we're going to be going through when we receive materials, do a first article inspection, sign off, and that kind of thing. So it's helpful.
That's part of the point of it. Yep. And it is just a
Yeah.
good tool for keeping track of what you're actually doing and outlining what you are going to cover in the future too. So I see your first 3 operations are signed off, and so you're in the midst of Operation 30 at this point, right?
We are. We talked about the organizational chart last time and how we didn't really think that was kind of like a nifty place to start, but where it's so fundamental to running your business through an ERP and through ProShop that we were very glad to have done that. We've actually we've gone fairly deep into 30, but it doesn't show that we're all checked off there. That's more me lagging behind, but we've touched also in terms of IT infrastructure and directory setup and file permissions, and that's our homework really for the next, between now and the next session.
You're getting stations set up out at your machines.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Some computer stations set up out at your CNC machines.
Yes, actually, perhaps next week we could take a little tour of that. Would you be interested in that?
Absolutely, I would too, and I'd love everyone. Sure, everyone would love to see your shop.
Okay.
Who doesn't like-
That's
Honestly, who doesn't like a shop tour? Everybody likes a shop.
well, we're a pretty small shop, so it won't take long.
Oh, that's
But
okay. You got to start somewhere.
yeah.
And then I think you were
So
saying,
you want to look into?
yeah, go ahead. Let's click in and see.
Okay. So this is where we start, and we're doing the first article here,
Mhm.
and we've done the Pro Shop fundamentals. We're not done setting up these company positions, but we've also delved in the training access control. And we've delved into the overview of the organizational chart. So we're involved with that, but we're not sort of complete with the first article inspection. So.
Right. Okay. And so that's cool. And then I believe you were telling me before we hit record that you've gone in and done some of the work in setting up Justin and yourself as employees and that stuff. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Where do you want to start?
Well, I see you have Justin right on the tab right next to the tab we're on. You just click there and
Sure. All right. So this is his main page, and just some things. For instance, today we documented the fact that all the employees that come into RX Industries will have a 30, 60, 90, 180, and then an annual review after that. So the first year, we're really checking in. We're very concerned about the onboarding process and cultural fit and that kind of thing. So we probably will be reviewing maybe a little bit more than the average bear. But he's got through his first 30-day review, and I have documented the questions that we've gone over. I haven't had a chance to put in the review notes where we both set goals for each other. So I'll put those in there as well.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love the fact that you're going to do those kind of frequent reviews. I think that's really smart. You know, I don't see a lot of companies doing that, but I know that employees do crave that feedback, you know, especially as they're getting, you know, into a new company. So yeah, I applaud you for doing that. That's great.
I've also set up this is spitballing, not engraved in stone, but you know, Justin should spend about 80-something% of his time against the work that we're doing here, which would make sense in a startup, a company that I would be dedicating my time to fixing the internet, and he would be out there making chips when possible.
Yes.
And then Kaizen is just sort of another word for continuous improvement.
Of course, yeah.
And at RX Industries, for instance, I'm going to require all personnel that you're not even eligible for a financial review annually unless you've had either personal training like leadership training or some personal development, or something specific professionally, whether you want to go learn Mesotrol or better ways to set up, or go to a workshop at a vendor that is, not a golf game, but has something to do with training. So there's some Kaizen percentage there. And then there's training as well. But I'm sorry, I probably misspoke about the Kaizen being training specific, but it's continuous improvement here at RX.
Yeah. So are you accustomed to doing that in other companies you've worked in, where you have specific Kaizen activities and workshops and yeah?
Yes. Although the specific companies that I work for instance, the last company that I worked for, they may have done a Kaizen event from time to time, but most of my customers involved me in their Kaizen events. So if we wanted to attack, assembly operations for that particular thing, then we would, come in early, stay late, do something specific and measurable for that task.
That's cool. Yeah. That Kaizen was, and the reason we have Kaizen here right on the user page is that was a very big part of ProCNC, our machine shop. And we did have, I think, 5% on Kaizen and 3% on training. I think those are the default numbers. But we would have, we had multiple Kaizen teams at all times working throughout the company in different departments. And the employees were trained in the 7 wastes of the Toyota production system. And if they found themselves doing any of those wastes, we would have them go to one of the Kaizen newspapers, write it on the board what they were doing that was waste. And then the team would meet and come up with action items to eliminate those wastes. So
that's fantastic. I probably will end up with a roll around board around here to express those thoughts and ideas to attack. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, instilling that as that's some of your main cultural values of always continuously improving your processes is incredibly important. And we didn't start out with that many, but as we grew and had became a bigger company, it made sense to have them in the in the machining area, in the milling area, in the turning area, in our horizontal area, in assembly, even in the office. We had one in the main office, we had one in our programming office. And they would do the same thing. If they saw waste they were performing, they would solve them. And we did thousands of tickets, thousands of Kaizen tickets over the years, and it really made a difference in how the company ran. And in all honesty, a lot of the things would be Kaizen is all about making pretty quick and simple fixes, right? You don't over design it. Sometimes it's duct tape and cardboard to prototype something, and then you build a better version later. But a lot of our improvement ideas would actually turn into tickets for Pro Shop features, right? Because in the office and in other places, you're like, hey, I'm having to, go walk around to find out this information. And we said, well, why don't we just make a button right there where you can find out that information in Pro Shop? So it was a combination of software development and, and changing stuff in the shop. But I love the fact that you're on board with that and you plan on do that with your company too. That's awesome.
Right. I don't have any objectives long-term to become a 50-man shop at all, but the principles remain the same, whether you're 10 or 50, or to me, they do.
Oh, absolutely. Totally. Yeah. Waste is waste. You're doing things that the customer doesn't want to pay you for. You should be doing less of those things.
I like that.
All right. Well, awesome. So I know that next week or next session, you're gonna get into estimating and start. I know you have a hot job you want to estimate, and I'm excited to look at that with you. But any other things you want to share with us about your sessions this week?
One thing that I really liked, and you're going to have to help me navigate a little bit to get to the screen where the the descriptions are for each position.
So you can right here on the page, actually, you can click right here on Manufacturing Manager.
Okay.
If you write to that description, that page.
All right. So definitely this got me pretty excited this morning. So these essential functions and requirements column, I was asking Michael, I said, can I edit these? Can I make these RX Industries specific? He goes, yeah, what'd you have in mind? I said, well, he was talking about the leadership team. And I said, well, I sort of eschew the idea of a leadership team because I I don't have any room for people who aren't leaders.
Mm.
And maybe they're not signing paychecks, but everybody that comes on board with RX Industries is required to exhibit leadership. So everybody's on a leadership team. And part of this is going to go into the position description. So whether you're sweeping floors or brain surgery, you are going to have leadership responsibilities for your position. And there will also be cultural fit. For instance, Justin, as the manufacturing manager, is going to, as part of his requirements, is going to have to survey his reports and come back with satisfaction ratings that allow him to effectively manage his department.
Right.
Cultural fit for RX Industries is absolutely critical.
Right.
So I want that to be a part of this, and I'm so excited to see if I'm going to be able to do that. That's a big deal for me today.
Draft revision up here, right? So Michael had you create a new draft rev, and you're going to go edit draft rev B and then release that when you're ready.
That's right. Yes, I forgot that we did that. I forgot about the revision levels that we have there. So I am really excited.
So the other thing you'll want to probably do is go into this position and put some thought into your leader fundamentals training. You can click that.
I thought that I did it. Yeah, okay, great.
So this just has some really basic stuff, right? 4 different little training topics. But you can certainly add more to it. You know, I mean, you could have requirement to take a leadership course, or, you know, who knows what, have a sit down talk with you about leadership. And that's one of your training sessions. So you can add anything you want to this along those lines.
I really like that idea. I mean, I know that ProShop is going to help with production and saving money and increasing quality. But the idea of being a critical tool for how I want to manage the culture of the company as well, along with it, I love it. I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I'm glad you appreciate those things. I'm going to stop your screen share. Yeah, I'm glad you appreciate those things. I mean, quite honestly, you are a perfect cultural fit for us as a customer because you care about those things, right? We don't think we fit well with companies that just want to wing it and don't really care about process and don't, you know, think about leadership of their employees. And so I'm glad you brought that stuff up. I appreciate that.
I have an acquaintance who has what appears to be a fairly successful monetarily machine shop, and I was asking him about his ERP system, and he just looked at me and said, "We don't have time for something like that." And then just kind of looking around in his shop, I was like, "This all makes sense." There is, and I can understand why there's a fit and why there's not really in thinking about that example.
Right on. Cool. Well, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. We're excited to get you into estimating next time and talk a little bit about actual parts and jobs. So this is a
Paul.
Delay as you move in further and down your journey.
Yeah, always looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thanks again so much, Tom. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care.